Tactical Production Studio, welcome to Tactical Tuesday, streaming live on YouTube and simulcasting as always on GunChannels.com. To check out our entire lineup of videos, podcasts, and live shows, please visit our website, www.ghosttacticalproductions.com.
What is going on, my Ghost Squad? Welcome to Tactical Tuesday. Today is Tuesday, November 27th, 2018. We are live, as always, on YouTube and simulcasting over on GunChannels.com. If you're not familiar with GunChannels.com at this point, we can't help you. You're one of the very few that's never heard of it. So go ahead and go and check us out. I'll put the link over there in the chat for you guys, and come check us out. It's a great Second Amendment pro-gun community started 5 years ago by G-Webs, and it's one of those places where you can hang out. There's a lobby that you can always jump in on or at least listen to. If you have questions about anything gun-related, whether it's politics or AR builds or whatever, there's always someone around that can help you out. So come on over and check us out. Most of your content creators that you watch throughout the week, we're all over there. So sometimes we're hopping in those lobbies as well. So come say hi and let's have some fun over at Gun Channels. Speaking of Gun Channels, let's see who's over there. We got G-Webs and Dead Horse and Pete. On the YouTube side, we want to welcome everybody. If you're new to the channel and new to the show, welcome. We hope you enjoy it. We're going to talk some fun stuff tonight. And if you're out there and you haven't said hello, please say hello. We can't see you if you don't say anything. So we welcome everybody out there. Let's kind of go through and see who's out there. Let's give everybody a shout out. You got Stealth Hunter was out there 6 hours ago, and Matthew Hauger. I hope I'm saying that right. Matthew is a friend of my daughter's boyfriend. Apparently, he wants me to trade uppers. So we'll look into that. Buck Stanley's out there. Laggy McLaggy is out there. Kinky Sphincter's out there. Love that name. You gotta love it. You gotta love it. Jeff Tack's out there. What's up, Jeff? Guitar Man Pete is out there. Grim Reaper, the tactical Reaper himself. Guys, if he comes knocking on the door, I love the guy, but don't answer it. Just don't answer it. It's not worth it. You got John Brown Productions out there. What's up, JB? Jen Davis is out there. JC, how you doing, JC? I don't remember seeing you on the show before, so if you're new, welcome, bro. I hope you enjoy the show. You've got, let's see here. I think I said Jen Davis. If I didn't, hello, Jen. The gun snobs out there. Ashley, GunStreamer in the hizzy. What's up? My homegirl, Ashley. How you doing? And MW Tacticals out there saying, what up, good people? I could just hear you actually saying that. I'm like, what up, good people? Glock Don't Locks out there. Let's see here. I'm going down. Trying to catch up real quick. If I missed someone, I'm sorry. Georgia Truckers out there. Keith Gregory's out there. Georgia, just saying, if you haven't checked out Clover's video from about an hour ago, maybe you need to check that one out, buddy. Just saying. And Andrew Faulkner's out there. What's up, Andrew? D-Temp's out there. And Seven Wonders. I think I said Seven Wonders out earlier. Double T's out there. What's up, Travis? One of the Travi Collective is in the house. I don't know if I like that or not. He kind of scares me. Travi are still around. Josan. I hope I'm not butchering your name. I apologize. Howdy. He says, howdy, y'all. Howdy. Keith Gregory, Rich White, the 1%. 1% is out there. And Pawnery's out here on the YouTube side. Now, G, I don't know if he gets a strike for this, but he's on the YouTube side. Just saying. I don't see him on the Gun Channel side. He's on the YouTube side. So we might have to talk to Pawnery about that.
Everyone has free will. He can do what he wants.
Oh, okay. All right. And Stinker, a.k.a. Allen's out there. This is one more. Just bought an M&P 15 carbine. Yeah, I've got M&P Sport 15. I love it. It's probably my favorite AR that I have. I've got two MPs. I've got a Core 15. The Core is pretty nice. I used to have another Core, but I sold that off and donated it to a buddy of mine. But I like the core. But M&P for me, I'm a Smith fan, so you can, in my eyes, Smith makes a very good product. There are probably a lot better ARs out there, but there is a lot worse. But if you've got an M&P or if you're looking for one, it's a great great AR platform that's not going to break the bank as well. So get out there. Ponder says he's on the gun channels all day for the morning and afternoon show. Yeah, you kind of you do kind of hold down the fort on you and Knives hold down the fort during the day. So I'll give you a little pass there. Brenda Osborne. Hey Brenda, I love having you, kid. I know that you're here for Mike, but I still love having you. Thanks for showing up. Speaking of the panel, let's go ahead and run through the panel real quick and say hello to the esteemed guest from South Carolina. We have the tactical. Well, I don't even know what he's Mike. He's Mike from MW. Everyone's got a tactical nickname except for you. We got to come up with a nickname for you. Mike's just Mike, but Mike from MW Tactical. What's going on, bro? How you doing?
Hey, Mike is just fine, but I'm doing great. How's your day been?
Life is good, man. Life is good. I a little cold today, but I'm excited about this week. So yeah, life's good. Life's good.
Yeah. Well, today was one of those days. It was a great day for me, but the only thing I didn't do that I normally do every day is I didn't talk to you today. Other than now.
I thought you were mad at me or something. I was like, damn, usually Mike calls me by now, but actually I was actually busy. I had a board meeting last night and we had some follow-up stuff. And then I jumped on a call with G and Clover and someone else earlier in the day. And I was going to call you, but just lost track of time. I apologize.
No, don't feel bad. Like I said, I was tying up some loose ends. I was on the phone call, sending out emails and running some errands. So, like I said, it was there for me.
Up, Mike Tango 6, how you doing, bro? Let's see here. From Arizona, the Godfather himself, G Webs. How's it hanging, bro?
Pretty good. Thanks for the invite.
Yeah, my pleasure. Love having you. And from Texas, the tactical virus himself, Clover Tack. What's up?
How about Magic Mike? Does Magic Mike work?
Magic Mike. On so many levels, that's awesome.
I think so. That maybe that'll stick.
The Magic Man? We just call him Magic. We just start calling him Magic. That's what we're
Magic Man.
Magic Man. What's up, RL? Let's start. Stinker. I think I said Stinker's out there, but Outlaw's out there. Yeah, I think Magic. I'll start calling you Magic. What's up, Magic? That'd be awesome.
Hey, just wait till I see you, Clove. That's all I'm gonna say.
Bring it, man. You gotta catch me. You gotta catch me first.
Oh shit. Well, before we get going, guys, we're gonna talk some cool stuff tonight. But if you have questions that you want answered, go ahead and tag us in the YouTube chat, and tag one of us on the panel so we can see it. What's up, Frank? Or you can email to live@ghosttactical.us, or you can text us. For those of you that like texting, you can text us at 530-36-GHOST, or if you like the numbers, it's 530-364-4678. So text us all you want. And if you do, I have not really kind of start putting names to numbers yet in that. So if you wouldn't mind, if you're going to text me at the end of it, just leave your screen name or your name so we know who's asking the question. And we'll definitely get those midnight range out there. It says, can we get a hold my balls? So if you weren't around a couple Sundays ago on midnight, that's a very, very crude inside joke. But I guess it's not inside when it's a public chat. So it's out there for everyone to see. But we kind of went down some rabbit holes, but it is what it is. So guys, what we're going to talk about tonight is training. And what I like to start out by saying is when I talk about training, I'm not talking about going to the range and just shooting and practicing. That's more practice in my eyes. When I say training, I'm talking about a class. And there are a lot of different classes out there. There are, just basic fundamental handgun 101 classes. There are classes that are based around concealed carry. There are classes that are based around, personal defense or low lighting. There's ones that are about more tactical stuff. And I think there's a big misconception. I think a lot of people, when they hear training, they think this big tactical thing, and that's not necessarily the case. I wish they would maybe call it firearm classes instead of firearm training necessarily. but we're going to talk about different types and discuss beyond that what to bring to those classes if you're new to it, how to prepare for a class or a training session or whatever. So let's kind of talk about the panel real quick before we get going. Not necessarily what all you have trained, because it's kind of a personal thing of where you've trained and who you've trained with, but which I don't really like talking about that anyways. It's really none of one's business. But I want to start with Mike. And Mike, I know obviously with military background and all that, but maybe outside the military, what are some of the things that you've gone to a class or gotten seeked out training for?
I went to a few classes. To let you know, like I went to Chris Costa's course, Bill Rogers' shooting course, just to name the two out of the many that I went to. But far as preparing for the class, I just went in with an open mind. But physically taking equipment, I just went off the packing list of what they recommended that you bring to the course.
Yeah, and we'll talk about that as well. G, I know you've been through a lot of training. What are kind of some of the things that you like to, when you go to a class, are you looking for a specific type of class, or are you just trying to get as much knowledge as you can?
So I got all my stuff at afteraction.net, and I started in 2006 with tactical response, and then a bunch of classes at Front Sight. LMS was a good one. I met Suarez and Gomez that way. Then a bunch of these are CCW classes, different places throughout the state, from like individual dudes to like what you'd call like the equivalent of big box trainers, like at the big stores and stuff, and they kind of come in and out larger classes and kind of cookie cutter, I guess. MDFI is Steve Fisher, so we got to experience him throughout his beginning of his career, and that was sort of an extra insight because we're good friends with him, and we got to see him go from classes with 6 or 8 guys to being one of the instructors at Magpul. Suarez again was awesome. Doing a lot of stuff, and we started doing medicine and first aid type of stuff, and then I started getting into Glock armor stuff. That was interesting because I did both of my Glock armorers courses with Dennis Tueller, the Tueller drill, the 21-foot drill. So I got to see how he teaches classes. Then getting in with Masad Ayub somewhere down here, getting in with Masad Ayub, doing a couple of classes with him, and then
that's for me, that would be the pinnacle right there.
Well, it's definitely, you know, one of the first instructors. Then doing some stuff with local instructors who are like, you know, emulating or kind of like affiliates of the larger schools. We did some stuff with females, and although they didn't want us, the guys around, Angie, one of the guys' wives, went and reviewed that, a female-only class. But, you know, just being there editing the video and stuff, we got to experience quite a bit of like a female-only class, which was kind of neat. Then, you know, I put in some the Magpul stuff and the last tactical response stuff. I didn't really, well, the last tactical response, when we were just at it, we didn't really sit through the whole class. Right. So my experience with classes goes, I guess it looks like about 6 years. And I don't know, it's dozens of classes. For the most part, you're going to go there and you're going to have some mix of lecture and range time. So I would say my advice would be to remember that you're going to be doing both there. You're there as a student, but also to learn, like, you know, range stuff. So I have a couple of things for the range, and I have a couple of things for the classroom part. So definitely bring a spiral notebook, even though Jaeger is one of the few people that gives you some handout materials, and it might be beneficial to use his. I still recommend bringing a notebook, just because you create content. You might want to put your notes on just general things, like how many handguns were there, what the handgun models were, you know, just notes for yourself for like a review or for like your own. But then like actually put your notes for the class in the stuff that he offers. So just some tips there, and then there's probably tons more. But then as far as the range, my biggest tip is to bring all the mags you can possibly bring, and bring your ammo loose. But ideally, bring all the mags you can possibly bring loaded, and good mags. I mean, not garbage mags.
Right.
Decent mags. And that's a test for your mags, right? And your numbering system and all that, but mainly so you're not stuffing mags during the in-betweens. When you're on the range, there's going to be two like sessions or whatever. There's going to be one group of guys, and then the next group, and you're going to be reloading while they're shooting. And if you're turning your back to the range and reloading, you're missing an opportunity to BS with the guys who have their shit together, their stuff together, and aren't reloading, right? Who are just going to be sitting around BSing and after action, and they're just going to be networking. Plus, you can experience the other line. You know, as the other line is shooting, there's a lot of opportunity there. And again, that's why it's nice having a spiral notebook in your pocket, not sitting someplace else, so that if like a little kernel comes to you, you can start writing all that stuff down. You're going to be drinking out of a fire hose here for a couple of days, so you're not going to be able to remember it all. Writing everything down is key. So I'd say it is what you're doing now is getting ready. Like, you know, be ready so that you're anticipate as much as possible, so that you can experience as much of it as possible.
Yeah. We do have a couple questions out there that I want to touch on real quick. Stinker out there wants to know if anyone can recommend a mount for a surefire light for an M&P 15. I personally can't, because I don't run a light on my ARs. I don't run a light on any of my guns. And it's not saying that I say that you shouldn't. I personally don't like to. I would rather run, and it's just because it's how I've always done it, and maybe I'm just more comfortable with it. I think that running a light on a rail, whether it's an AR or a handgun, is probably much easier. But I personally, I don't like to run a light, especially if it's in home defense. We keep little kind of emergency lights out in the house that are kind of out there in the living room and all that, enough to keep it lit. But more importantly for me, this is just my opinion. I know my house better than anybody else. Now, obviously, before I pull a trigger, I want to make sure that it's an enemy or an intruder instead of someone that's a family member. But we have safe words. We have terminology in my house that we utilize for that specific identification. But I personally would rather not use a light, because I think it gives away your position. Now, there are times that I will always carry around a little light right here, and I can kind of go through right here just as easy as anything else is having one on my gun. So that's just me, and I know that other people are different. I personally don't run lights on any rail of any gun that I own. That being said, I'm sure someone out there does, and they can probably help you out. I got a text from Jason, and he said, "What do you think about 10 millimeter? He just got a Glock 29 and loves it." Yeah, I'll say this: 10 millimeter handguns, I'm all for. I think they're pretty cool. 10 millimeter carbines, it's what it is. I'll take it or leave it. I would rather run a 9 millimeter carbine if I'm not going to go with a rifle caliber, 223, 556, 308, 455, 458 SOCOM, whatever it is. If I'm going to run a pistol caliber and a carbine, I'm going to go 9, and there's a reason for that. Most of my handguns are 9 millimeter. I love the 9 millimeter round. I know that G-Webs is throwing up a little bit in his mouth right now, but I love the 9 millimeter round. And if I'm going to go handgun and carbine in a home defense or truck gun situation, I want to be able to share ammo. So if you're enjoying the Glock 29 and you're running 10 millimeter in handgun, then yeah, you can go get a 2 millimeter carbine. But for handguns, I would say most definitely 10 millimeter is a really fun caliber and a handgun to shoot. Carbine, I could take it or leave it. Anybody out there? Clover, I know Clover likes 10 millimeter in a handgun at least. G or Mike or Clover, what do you guys think about 10 millimeter?
Oh yeah, 10 millimeter is 10 millimeter sweet. Pretty much handgun or carbine, in my opinion.
Yeah, I mean, I don't dislike the carbine, but if I'm going to go pistol caliber carbine, I'm going to go 9 millimeter because that's what my handguns are. That's just where I am.
It's just a very sweet shooting round. It just really is.
G, oh, Mike, was that Mike who was trying to say something? Go for it.
Yeah, I was going to say that I never had the experience of shooting a 10 millimeter, but I've always heard people who shot it. I never heard nobody say they had a negative experience with one.
Yeah. G, what do you think of a 10 millimeter?
I think that 10 minus 1 is 9, and that's a negative experience.
Jeez, here we go. Yeah. Anyways, so there you go, Jason. Yeah, 10 millimeters are really fun, especially at handgun is great. And I'm not discounting it as a carbine at all. But what I'm saying for me personally, if I'm going to go with a pistol caliber carbine, I'm going to go with 9 because my handguns are 9 and I want to be able to share ammo throughout that. So, but good question. Good question. I hope we answered that for you. And now, Clover, I know that you're not huge in on training, but I'm assuming you've had some training throughout your life. But also, if you were to go get training, what are some of the types of classes that you would be interested in?
Well, it totally depends on what you mean by training.
Well, let's say a class. What I'm saying is, it's not going out there and practice. Going and get instruction from an instructor.
I understand that, but I mean, it depends on what you're talking about. So you're talking tactical.
No, I'm just talking about training in general.
Maybe,
anything,
but
anything.
You go to trainers to learn how to train other people. You go to trainers to learn how to coach. You go to trainers to learn how to shoot.
That's what I'm talking about right there.
And that's where mine falls, is more the competition side and learning how to coach and how to train coaches. So it's sort of where mine falls, more than the tactical and self-defense side of things.
Sure.
Yeah.
Tardot's out there. What's up, Tardot? Drucifer's out there. Yeah, exactly what you're saying is and that's what I'm saying is I think that there is a big misconception of when people hear training. They automatically go to the route of it's got to be the tactical stuff. Right. And like I said, there's firearms 101. I mean, that's training. It's anything that you can do that someone's going to help you improve your skills as a firearm enthusiast.
Yeah. And one thing with on the competition side, and that translates. All of that's gonna build confidence for one thing, and then your all of your basics as far as form and things like that. I mean, you learn the mechanical aspects of form, and a lot of that can be applied in the tactical sense as well. And then, like I said, the confidence you get strictly from the competition side and becoming a more proficient, shooter. I mean, if for example, that you can put 3 shots in the size of a quarter at 15 yards, from, bullseye competition or whatever it might be, then, I mean, hitting a silhouette, when you start doing your defensive training, being able to add stress factors, move around other things, that you're going to be able to do that, even though, because you've got that confidence, it's a bigger target. Yes, you have these other factors in play, but it's a bigger target. So it's kind of an offset, I guess.
Yeah, sure. Andrew Faulkner out there. I don't personally, but I'm thinking maybe G possibly could through his travels. Andrew wants to know if you know, or if anyone knows of a place to train in Idaho, more of a basic pistol type. Do you know of anyone in Idaho, G?
He's in Costa in Idaho now.
Is he in Idaho? I don't know.
It's going to cost a couple of bucks. He's in Texas at the moment, but I haven't been to Idaho in a long, long time, but I don't know anybody who's up there.
Okay. Yeah, I wish I could. It sounds bad, but the best thing you do is probably just Google firearm training Idaho and see what pops up. And that's kind of it's a great transition, because I wanted to talk about a little bit before we start going into what to bring and how to prepare and all that. Discussing being a training snob and being an elitist. And obviously, if you can afford it and you can get to these places, there are the Clint Smiths of the world, the Costas, the Masad Ayubs, and I'll throw Jaeger and Kevin Dixie and all these guys that are kind of renowned as great firearm trainers. Reed's out there, Rob Pincus, all these people that are well known as firearm instructors. Obviously, if you can afford them, if you can get to them, then obviously they're on that higher plateau as esteemed trainers for a reason. But do not ever discount. Hey, what's up, Mel? It's Scott P. Don't ever discount the local trainers. Now, I've trained a bunch, and I've been through a lot of training in my life outside of the military and in the military, but I train quite a bit. And a lot of it is what I call local, was within the state or within a surrounding state of Arkansas. And there are a lot of trainers out there that are very, very basic, and which are good for some people. If someone's new to firearms, these people are going to be great. There are some instructors that are very, very good in the advanced stuff as well. And don't discard someone because you've never heard of them. If you're interested in a training class, but you're not sure if it's worth the money, and I think I got this from G, and this is a great idea. But sometimes you can call some of these places and say, "Hey, I'm thinking about coming to train with you, but can I come in and maybe not train, but just maybe audit for half the class, or just kind of sit in on something to see if I'm going to like it?" And I think a lot of people would be okay with that if you just can say, "Look, I'll come and audit this and just kind of see if it's like it, and then if I like it, then I'll come in and take a training with you." Have you guys ever? And I know G has, and I'll start with you. But the question for the panel is have you guys ever audited some training classes? And G, I'll let you start because I know you've audited quite a bit.
Yeah, you summed it up there. Just contact them. They're looking, especially nowadays, it's even easier because you don't have to explain what the internet or social media or any of that is. They'll understand the advantage of getting some free publicity.
Yeah. Now, if you go in there as not a content creator and you're just looking to get some training, once again, I think they'd be fine with that. They probably might not let you stay very long, but they might let you come in and sit in the classroom session or whatever, and at least kind of get an idea. Because, and I understand people saying, "Man, $100 is a lot for a lot of people, for some people to go training," and that's probably on the low end of training is $100. So if you're worried about the money and you don't know if you want to spend it on a training thing, then go ahead and audit. Mike, what about you? Have you ever audited any training before?
No, never done it. The only thing I pretty much done was just go to a class and just had fun, absorb the knowledge, and went about my business.
Have you ever had any terrible experiences while getting training?
No, not at the places I went, because all the schools I went to were high-end schools. I never I went to all the top 10 in the nation,
Yeah.
pretty much.
Yeah.
So but each time I went, it was a different experience, but it was nothing negative to say, "Hey, don't go here because they done something unsafe," or anything like that. It was always positive reinforcement of training, even though it was a different mindset that I was used to on some of them. But like I said, overall, great experience.
Clover, what about you? Have you ever audited, or has anyone ever audited any of your classes that you might be doing some instruction?
Both. That's something that is done in the true sense of audit.
Yeah,
right?
yeah,
Meaning
sure.
you've got somebody come in that's critiquing what you're doing, is taking notes, or and then makes suggestions later or whatever. I know we use that word for social media coming in, or a guest or something like that, but the true meaning is somebody is there paying attention for a reason. And yeah, I've been on both ends of that coin.
Grading you or whatever. Yeah.
Yeah, it's not a thing where anybody's going to get into trouble. I mean, I guess if you're just a total crap instructor or something, it would, but it's not really anything where anybody gets into trouble. You just kind of, you go through the morning session, and then, usually you're eating lunch with that, and you just kind of chit chat and you go, "Well, you didn't bring up this or you didn't bring up that. You may incorporate that into your material, things like that." And then, the evening, and you get into range session or something like that. It's like, "Well, you might help if you did this or you did that." So it's not, like I said, there's never been any in my involvement on both ends of that, and then talking with other coaches, instructors, whatever as well. There's never been anything where anybody's ever gotten into trouble or anything like that. Everybody has always had a pretty good, because we kind of have to write and tailor our own curriculum around a set of take a core curriculum basically, and then tailor our courses and classes around that, right? And that's kind of done to our style. So I think that's why that audit system is in place, is to make sure that at least the core stuff is all getting covered and getting covered properly.
Yeah. Now, Mel the Nut out there, first of all, I want to send a shout out to my buddy Off the X over there. Go check his channel out. He's starting to put some content out there. He's a guy that I practice with frequently at the range here locally. So go check him out. He's putting some pretty cool range videos and practice videos out there. But Mel the Nut out there says that even if the training is bad, at least you will know what not to do. And that's very, very true. I mean, not every person just because they might have a nice resume of credentials to be an instructor doesn't mean that they're a good instructor. They might have all the knowledge in the world, but they may not be able to talk publicly or explain their thought processes. So, but yeah, you're right. Even if it's bad training, then at least you know what not to do. And I look at it this way. I've been through a lot of training. I've probably, in the last 5 years, I've probably been to at least 30 training classes, and most of them have been local. But here's the thing. No matter how basic or simple or basic's the best word I could use. Basic that training is. If you go into every training session with an open mind, there's always something that you're going to be able to pick up. And that's my goal. Is every time I go train, there's a lot of these classes that I go to that I could very, very easily, with my eyes closed, teach this class probably better than an instructor. But I don't go in it with that attitude of, if this guy doesn't know what he's talking about, I'm going in there saying, look, if I could leave today with one thing that I may not have learned something new, but the way that this person explains it makes me better, whether with my own firearm fundamentals or being able to explain it to someone else that I'm working with, then it's been a successful day. I have yet ever to be to a training class that I've walked away saying, I did not learn anything, not one thing. I've never had that happen. So, have you guys, and we'll kind of open this up real quick before we start going to the next segment, but have any of you guys ever had training that you walked away going, I'll never go back there again? And you don't have to mention names.
I've never been to training that I personally took that I said that, but there was a few times I went to a few classes and I observed people teaching, and I went to them and I gave them a little bit of insight on how they can actually get their point across better, or something they can do to lessen the confusion. But you know, like I said, to me, it was more about looking at the positive outlook on it. But then again, I didn't spend the money on the course to actually attack it.
Sure. Yeah. Your next is out there fishing for a shout out. So what up, your? So
I've had a couple that way.
Have you? Okay.
Or I've seen a couple that way. I don't want to necessarily say I've couple maybe I was in the class, couple I was, they were doing one at the same time I was doing one, or maybe I was auditing, or something like that. But and it wasn't that it even didn't cover the basics or something like that. It's just that wasn't like it was they were teaching bad things or unsafe things or anything like that. It's just the way that it was done was like, holy Jesus, these people are going to want to hang themselves by the time before the day's out. Come on, make it a little more fun, make it a little more interactive, make it a little more exciting. Elaborate a little more on things. It was more the presentation was the problem, I think, rather than what was being said.
And that's a huge part of an instruction, no matter if it's firearms or sports or whatever. If you're going to be a coach, then a big part of that is presentation. You can be the most knowledgeable person in the world, but if you can't put a coherent sentence together, or if you talk in monotone and people just get bored and fall asleep while you're talking, you could be giving out the most important information they've ever heard, and they're not going to hear you. So I think you're right. Presentation is huge. Making it fun. We do a lot of fun shoots at the range I'm the pistol director at, and I try to set up different self-defense scenarios all the time. And the reason why is not because I want people to get out there running and gunning. It's more because if you let them have fun, but you're also putting them in positions to learn something, most of the time, they don't even realize what they've learned. They're just out there having a good time shooting and being around people. And at the end of the day, people come up to me and say, I didn't even really realize, but I had never shot behind cover before, or I've never had to shoot while in the retreat, or I've never done a reload before like that. And you're introducing them to new stuff, but yet they don't really realize it because you're making it fun. So I think you're right. I think if you make it fun, if you yourself are interesting, you're going to be able to captivate your audience a lot more. And I know Mike went through Jaeger's instruction class. And I know presentation was big for them, wasn't it?
Yeah, it was very big. It was almost like taking another college course in a sense, you know.
Yeah.
But overall, like I said, it was just more because a lot of people who try to come into instruction of firearms, everybody thinks it's easy, but you really have to have the patience, and but you have to understand how to talk to the three different platforms of learning, you know. But once you understand that and how to get your message across, everything else is easy as long as you know and understand the material.
Right.
And that's where a lot of people think they can do what somebody else is doing because they make it look easy, you know. And like I said, the same techniques of that I used when I was a drill sergeant are some of the same techniques that I use today when I talk to people as far as instruction.
Yelling and demeaning them.
I never yelled as a drill sergeant. I'm telling you, I there's somebody in the chat room that can attest to me not yelling as a drill sergeant.
You know,
what were you going to say, Gene?
I think that's a great point, what Mike just said. Oh, yeah. And yeah, not the worst drill sergeants didn't raise their voice ever, right?
Yeah. Yeah, those are the ones that now my senior drill instructor didn't raise his voice much, but he was more of dad. The two juniors were the disciplinarians, and they both yelled plenty. So it is what it is.
Some out there, though, when we've been kind of talking about training it.
Oh, like, yeah, go ahead.
There's the analogy of like a guitar or piano or something, right? So we're all using the same tool, and there might be different styles or whatever, but part of it is that you're getting the experience of the person. So you might like jazz or you might like rock and roll, but there's a difference between going to a local store where someone might be proficient, like you've been saying, but not have the soul or not have the experience to be able to give the students the true understanding. Is that the word? And a lot of these instructors aren't there because there's some like cult of followers. It's there because their instruction just blows people away. It's useful, and because it evolves, it's not like you're learning something from the 50s. You're learning something that's cutting edge, and it's ultimately useful. And like you're saying, it's also the experience. If you're going to go take a guitar class, some people are going to want to take a guitar class from, I don't know, some guy in the Rolling Stones. Some people are going to want to take a guitar class from some guy in the Talking Heads, right? Like everybody's going to have their thing, but if you can get to the ultimate pinnacle of somebody who's a master, there's something to be said. And they don't get to that point just because they're talent. Always, they get there as instructors because they're able to keep a class interested or amused, or just be able to get information out there. And even the ones that are the most entertaining, unless their information is valid, it doesn't persist. It's a flash in the pan. So these instructors that are the pinnacle right now have basically been around, and they evolved. They created what we've got. They created the origins of it. And instead of being rigid, they've adapted all the way through. All these subsequent instructors have, added to the curriculums, and they've all shared, and they've all adapted it. But you still have your jazz and your rock and roll and your stuff. So there's different, flavors of it out there. But ultimately, we're all just using the same gun. There is no ninja rolls. There's nothing fancy.
Right.
There's manipulations. There's determinations on like strategy, I guess, a little bit of tactics, but most of the classes are mindset, and the classes that I've enjoyed the most are the ones that take someone from bravado and confidence and doesn't break you down like yelling at you, but breaks you down with the responsibility of what we're really doing here.
Right.
And that mindset, and you either come out a warrior, or you come out and decide not to carry as much anymore.
Yep. That's a great point. Personally, I'd rather go take guitar lessons from David Gilmour, but that's just me. He's my all-time favorite guitar player. But for those of you who don't know who David Gilmour is, my second favorite band of all time behind the Beatles is Pink Floyd. David Gilmour is from Pink Floyd. So if you're not aware of them, go Google Pink Floyd and go listen to Comfortably Numb, which is a very... it's a great song, but it was kind of a commercial song. but Comfortably Numb might have one of the greatest guitar solos in the history of rock and roll. That's just me. Sorry, I know a lot of people don't like Pink Floyd. I apologize, but I love them. But anyways,
don't listen to Comfortably Numb if you're really, really tired, because it probably puts you to sleep. It will. It's relaxing. It's really relaxing.
It is. It's some great music. But now Georgia Trucker out there says Warrior Poet Society moved to Atlanta. Yeah, he's good. Yeah, I watch a lot of John's stuff, and John Lovell is Warrior Poet Society. John's a former Spec Ops guy, is an instructor. He's very, very knowledgeable. I like what he says. He's one of these guys we were talking about earlier with how you deliver the message. He's extremely knowledgeable. I think he's very reputable. For me personally, I get bored listening to him talk. And maybe that's just how he comes across on video. If I go see him in person, it might be different. But on video, he kind of bores me. He's kind of monotone-ish, but I'll never dispute the fact that John is qualified and is very knowledgeable. So yeah, John would be someone that I would definitely love to go train with someday. Someone mentioned Voda out there. And here's the thing about Voda. I'm just going to go off what I know of Voda and what I've seen of Voda. He's got a different style of training where he is literally in your face, even when you are pointing a gun at him, or he'll point a gun at you. And I think that's why Voda has kind of gotten some bad raps, which is more unsafe than anything. But if you want to go train with Voda, go for it. I'm not going to badmouth anyone that I have never personally worked with. That's one of the things that I'm looking forward to this weekend with Jaeger. Is I think it's very well known that I have not cared for a lot of things that he has said or done in front of a camera, but I will train with anybody. I don't have to like you to train, but I'm also going to hold my judgment as a person until I get to train with him, be around him a little bit more, maybe spend some time with him personally, and I'll hold my judgment on him. Like I said, I'm not one to judge just because of someone might be a personality in front of a camera. We don't know. We don't know what he is. I know that G's met him and trained with him before. Mike's met him and trained with him before, and they both talk very positively about him in that aspect. So I'm looking forward to going with Jaeger. So we'll figure that out. And you brought up a good point about G. I think you were talking about the delivery. And what I want to say about this is there are a lot of people out there that train. There are a lot of people on YouTube that train that are well known. And I would say go to all of them if you can. My plan in the next year is to go to as many training classes as I can. I would like to go to at least one a month, and I'm going to try to catalog and film a lot of the stuff that I'm allowed to, but be able to give recommendations on different types of training, different styles of training, different trainers themselves, and be able to catalog that. And I would love to do a 1 a month training. Depends on my schedule and all that, but I'd love to be able to do that. That being said, there are going to be some people that, and like Mike was saying, there's different ways of learning. We're more physical. There's more, seeing it done. There's more hearing it done. However you want to learn, there's different instructors that will fit that bill. So if you're more of a visual learner, and you're thinking about going to take a class, go Google some of these people, and they all will have some sort of clips of videos of their training that you'll be able to kind of watch and see if you might jive with what they're teaching, their personalities or whatever. So if you have a limited budget and you can only go train certain times, make sure you do your research. Mike, when you're talking about the different types of learning, when you're giving instruction, do you kind of tend to be an instructor more for visual learners or audio learners or what? If you had to grade yourself.
I can actually tell you when I'm talking to you, I can pick up if you understood what I said. And as soon as I pick up you didn't understand what I said, I go to the next teaching point, because a lot of people think they're visual learners, whereas majority of the people are audible. So you can talk something, they be like, okay, got it, and run and do it. But if you're not one of those people, I go through all three of them, and then whatever it is, now I know how to work with you. So For instance, a lot of females are more visual learners. You can talk to them and show them, and then after that, they take off with it, and you don't have an issue with it after that. Whereas a lot of guys, you really have to slow down and break it down and say, look, XYZ, now let's make it happen. Okay, now let's go ABC, make it happen. So it's just a matter of who I'm talking to, and I have to dissect how they receive the information that I'm putting out.
Warsaw out there is saying NRA are traitors. Thanks a lot, Chris Cox and management board. Okay. I hear you, bro. And I know that you're fighting the good fight, and I love you for it. But understand a lot of what you despise with the NRA, and I'm not a member of the NRA right now, but I'm gonna take their side on one thing, okay? And I'll bring Clover here in a second. But a lot of what you despise with the NRA is actually the ILA. Now, there are a lot of people that would, and I'm one of them, would say if the NRA just went back to instruction and gun safety and gun education and youth shooting, then they'd go back to the NRA. The NRA instructor courses are legitimate. They are very, very good. And they are a staple of the gun community. Very few high-level instructors are not going to have their credentials say NRA certified instructor. Pretty much all of them are going to have that at least at one point in their life. They're going to go through that training. And so I understand what you're saying about the NRA, but don't lump the entire NRA on what the ILA does. And I want to bring Clover in because I know that there was a point in time that even you were, and you probably still aren't, a huge fan of the NRA, but you're also an instructor, and the instruction side of the NRA you do value. So you want to talk about that for a little bit?
Yeah, I mean, in the youth world, particularly without NRA certification, you don't do it. It's pretty much that simple. It's pretty much that simple. You're sort of, I don't know what you would call it, extorted.
Yeah, that's a good word.
Being a member for them to hold your certification.
Sure.
Yeah, I mean, I totally agree. I mean, the NRA, it's been fairly, I'm going to say it's been fairly recent. The ILA split, anyway. Has been a fairly recent thing. NRA has been involved in some not so great legislative, issues, obviously, for 100 years plus now. But yeah, I mean, we've got to separate the two out to an extent, and we've got to call them out. I mean, without a doubt, on as far as the ILA side and the crap that they pull. But I think that at the same time, we need to acknowledge the good, and I think that if they shifted the focus more on the good things that they're doing, and that's the problem, is that since that I've seen anyway, is that since the ILA has come into existence, they pillaged and frickin' plundered the other arms that actually did all the good.
Right, exactly.
Yeah. And I think if they built those back up, then they would be, they would be a lot better organization. And I think they would have a lot more backing, and I think they would get a lot more feedback. Because one thing you got to realize with the NRA and or even the ILA is that a lot of people view that as their organization. They pay their money so that they handle it, and then people are absolutely uninformed. They don't pay attention. They don't care. It's kind of like your congressman, right? You go every 4 years or whatever, 2 years, and you vote, and then you don't keep up with politics because you voted. That's what your congressman. That's what I voted him in an office to do. Well, that's why I pay my NRA dues, right? It's for them to take care of it. And it's unfortunate that we have to hold their feet to the fire and make them accountable for things. But like I said, I think if we had a base that was being catered to by the arms of the NRA that do all of the good, I think that we would have a more engaged base with the NRA that would actually maybe hold some clout with numbers to then hold their feet to the fire as far as the ILA is concerned. Just my theory.
I like it. Yeah, the problem is, like you said, I'm sorry, I'm trying to type as well. A lot of people don't understand that there's a lot of different compartments of the NRA. And someone made a point out there, maybe I think it was Jeff Tacker out there, said that the NRA can't fight all of the bad laws that are coming down the pipe. They can't do it all. And you have the GOA, the SAF. There are so many wonderful organizations out there. And even though we may not like the NRA, or we don't like certain things the NRA says or does, we still have to understand that until someone knocks them off, they are the big dog when it comes to the Second Amendment rights organization. So keep in the back of your mind, and I'm speaking to myself as well, keep in the back of the mind that not everyone in the NRA are bad. I've got a very good friend of mine who's a board member of the NRA now, and I know she's there doing good work. So I can honestly say that not everyone involved in the NRA is bad. You might have Chris Cox and Wayne LaPierre that might be doing some things or saying some things that may give the NRA a bad name, but not all the work that the NRA is doing is bad. So I'm speaking to myself, and I think we all should maybe just wait it out a little bit.
Yeah, chill a little bit. Can we get back onto the?
Yes, please, God, please. Yes, please.
Getting the train back on track here.
Yes,
I've actually got a question for Mike, sort of instructor to instructor type question, because he's talking about dealing with people, and have dealt with kids. Kids, and I'm wondering if this translates at all. If Mike's had any experience with adults with this, because I've worked with very few adults in that capacity, but kids will lie to you in a heartbeat. So not only do you got to try to read and relay the information properly and all that, but you got to be able to tell, because they'll flat lie to your face about they're doing this or they're doing that, or this was going through their mind, or this is where they were aiming, or whatever it was. It's crazy. Do you have that issue where, they're lying to you?
Well, it's not so much them lying, it's their perception of what you said. So let's take lining up your sights, for instance. So one thing I tell people is look at the target like you're talking to it. Now bring your firearm up so the sights are with your eye and line it up. Now, once they start shooting and they're doing whatever and they're hitting the other target versus their target, now I'll come back to them and I'll reinforce what I said beforehand. And I'll just keep saying it over and over again until they catch it. But it's not their lying. It's just the fact they just didn't pick up.
Well, with the kids, it's lying. So, I mean, I hate to tell you, but you're being way too nice, and I'm not gonna. I'm too long for too many times I've seen it. I mean, it's just, they'll snatch the trigger right in front of you, and you'll go, "We just talked about it. That's why you shot left, or whatever." And they're like, "No, I didn't do that." It's like, I've got it on my phone right here. I was recording
You
it.
did.
No, I didn't do that. Okay. Or they raised up, when they shot, or they flinched, or they were anticipating a shot. And I mean, you can see that. And I'm not necessarily talking about noobs either. I'm talking about kids that have done it before, so they know they did it, and what I can't, you try to get across to them, it's like, look, you're not in trouble, but if you don't tell, I can't help you correct the problem if you're not telling me the truth. And eventually you build a trust and you don't have that problem. But I see that a lot with kids, especially when you're dealing with eye dominance and a lot of other issues, trying to weed stuff out. It's like, okay, close your, left eye and do this, close your right eye and do that, whatever. Yeah, you gotta be really careful. A lot of them will tell you they're left-handed when they're right-handed, and right-handed when they're left-handed. Yeah. It's just really, really weird stuff like that. And it's like, why, you set them down, and they say they're left-handed, so you put them down and, on a rifle left-handed, and they're missing 18 inches at 50 foot or something, and you're like, what in the world's going on with this? And their head's all cocked over the comb of the rifle and everything else, and you're like, I thought you told me you were right-handed.
Now,
and they literally held up their or left-handed, and they literally held up their left hand, so there was no mistake there.
Yeah.
Yeah. So another thing you got to understand when you're dealing with children is they don't like to disappoint people.
Yeah.
So it's
That's
like
That's
the
true.
negative
Yeah.
reinforcement.
Yeah, it has to be. Yeah, you really have to create a really safe,
Mhm.
understanding environment, and it's all about trust. You really have to establish that really well when you're dealing with kiddos.
Yeah. I was working with a young man. This is about 3 weeks ago at the range, and he's early 20s and in college, getting ready to graduate in the spring and wants to go join the Marine Corps. So we obviously kind of started talking about the Marine Corps and all that, asked my opinion and this, that, and the other. And he's been shooting for a couple years. And he asked if I could maybe help him out a little bit. And so I said, yeah, absolutely. So we started working on some different fundamentals and all that. And what I noticed with him, and I'm sure that you guys have all seen it, and you probably even had to teach some of them, but you have these people that are more interested in looking good while shooting. Like they watch all these movies and they want to think they look good instead of having good mechanics. And he was, for lack of a better term, every time he shot, he'd bring it down back to low ready. And I said, "Why are you bringing it down to the low ready?" He goes, "Well, I don't know." And I said, "It does. It may look like kind of cool. I don't know. I don't think it does, but some people might think it looks cool." And I said, "But you're slowing down the process." And I said, "Every time you bring that gun down to the low ready and bring it back up, you're having to go through the entire process of acquiring that front sight again and getting good sight alignment and all of that." I said, "You keep that gun up until you have to move it. If you're in a gunfight in the worst real world scenario and you drop your gun, you're dead." And he was like, "Well, I guess I never thought about that." So my question to you guys is, have you ever had to work with people that have come in thinking that they are at another level and they might be a decent shots, but their mechanics are that of a beginner? And if so, how do you deal with that? I'll start with you, Mike.
All right, repeat that question one
All
more
right, so
time.
let's say you've got a student that comes in who actually might be a pretty good shot,
Okay.
but their mechanics, they think that they're an advanced shooter, but their fundamental mechanics of firearm handling are that of a beginner. How do you deal with that? Do you just be honest and say, "Look, your mechanics and fundamentals are terrible," or do you have to finesse that, or how do you go about that?
Okay, so like if I was to come across someone like that, first thing I would do is I wouldn't put them on the spot, right? Because some people just don't take being talked to in a negative tone very well, especially in a training class. But what I will do is kind of play like the reverse psychology on them, and it'll be something as like, "Hey, try holding your grip like this and see how this works out for you. It might feel a little weird because you used to shooting this way, but just try this for the next two rounds that we do these drills, and just see if it makes your shot that much better."
Right.
Then I'll probably go to, "Okay, let's try this with pulling the trigger. Instead of doing it like this, let's slow it
Let's
down and go
try
like
this and
this."
see what happens.
Yeah, so it's
That's
like
kind of how I
I'm
work it.
asking your permission to move forward with you.
Yeah.
You know what I'm saying?
Yeah, for me, a lot of it's is I see what you're doing here, and there are a lot of different ways to, and I use this line actually a lot, is there are a lot of different ways to get to the same result, and we got to find what works best for you. So let's try 2 or 3 of these different ones and see if you like any of them better. And I kind of use that method a lot. Sometimes you just had to be brutally honest because you've got that person that's arrogant, that's got an ego that thinks that there's something, and you're not trying to be mean to them, but you've got to get their attention. You've got to set them and say, "Look, your shooting ability is great, but everything that you're doing before you pull that trigger is going to get you killed." And sometimes you have to make it that blunt to them. G or Clover, have you ever had to deal with someone that thought they were better than they were?
Well, I don't know. I mean, I've experienced it happening in front of me. I'm not saying that I was the instructor doing it, but again, there's not fancy techniques or tricks or tips or anything like that. It's just basics. So it's all about the basics. So if your scenario that the person was a good marksman but didn't have the basics, well, that's what they're there for, is the basics. So there's
Right.
nothing to reprimand or anything. That's really what they're there for. It's really just to focus that the basics are all there is. And, you know, some classes will have you slow down through the basics. Some classes will have you do step-by-step through the basics, but you're only going to be drawing and aiming and talking and learning about the repercussions and the circumstances and that. You're not doing, again, any kind of next level manipulation or anything like that. For the most part, people that attend a CCW class are going to be like it sounds like what we're talking about. Somebody who's already decided that they understand everything and, you know, are trying to go to impress an instructor or something. But people aren't, those people, that kind of person doesn't spend the $500 to go to a class and spend time. So usually people that are going to that are already past that, and they're there to experience either the curriculum or the instructor or something about it.
Yep.
I busted so many bubbles in my lifetime that it's.
I think you enjoy that, though. There's a part of it that says I think you enjoy busting
I can't tell you the number of parents I've had that's come in and, oh, my son, he's a crack shot, and this, that, and the other, or daughter. You know, and even, you know, they've got kind of the big head because their parents have worked them up because they get out behind the house and shoot cans, you know, off the fence, just pow, pow, pow. And then when you're shooting a 1 3/8 freaking target with a bullseye the size of the lead in a 22 long rifle at, you know, 50 foot or 25 yards, it's a totally different ball game.
Yeah. Oh,
and if you don't have the solid mechanics and fundamentals down and the proper equipment, yeah, your bubble gets busted pretty darn quick. It really does. And there's those that get discouraged and don't come back, and then there's those that are intrigued because it's a challenge.
Right.
And so they strive to get better, and then those are the ones that generally do really well and succeed.
Now, Pondery's got something for you out there, Clover. He said, if I shot around Clover, he'd probably say, I can't believe you can be this good with a wheel gun and so helpless with a semi-auto. There are a lot of people that are better shots with revolvers, no doubt about it. I am not one of those. I don't hate revolvers, but I train with semi-autos, and I like the semi-automatic pistol a lot better. But yeah, there's a lot of people that will do some serious damage with a revolver for sure. Let's see here. Warsaw says, what are my thoughts on training in militias, like when joining a group like a militia? Interesting you should ask that, because about, I don't know, a year ago, maybe a little bit less than a year ago, I was invited by, there's a couple different militias here in Arkansas, and I was invited by one of them to come down and go to a meeting, and was asked if I may be interested in joining one. So I did some research, and I asked some guys over in GunChannels about militias and all of that. And Ashley says, next time I talk to Paul, Ashley says that she's one of those people who will say, what the hell is that? So I can see her definitely being very blunt in instruction. But anyways, going back to the militia thing, and I'll give you some advice that was told to me. I decided not to go down to this militia, not because I didn't think it was a decent idea. I just couldn't find enough history about this militia that made me think that it wasn't in it for the wrong reasons. Does that make sense? I think if there are militias that have been around for a long time, if you're going to get into a militia, there are a lot of, I'll put it this way, there are a lot of militias that are there for community service, and it's not just for the Doomsday Red Dawn style scenario. It's anytime there's a tornado or a natural disaster, it's a group of people that just like helping the community. And there's a lot of quote unquote militias that will do that. And then what they basically call themselves militias, because once a month they'll get together and do some team training and stuff like that. If it's that kind of militia, then I'm all for that. I'm all for, being part of a group of people that are similarly like-minded, that are in favor of helping the community, and they just happen to call themselves a militia instead of a biker group or whatever. There's a lot of groups of people out there that help the community and all that. If they focus themselves around a militia that are helping the community, and oh, by the way, they get together once a month and do some training, I'm all for it. There are a lot of militias out there that are preparing for doomsday and preparing for revolution. And I think those are the ones that could possibly be dangerous. Before we move on, I don't want to spend a whole lot of time on militias, but before we move on, let's run it through the room. Your guys' thoughts on militias. We'll start with you, Clover.
Thoughts on militias?
Yeah.
Is that what you said?
Yeah.
There is, for the most part, down here in Texas, there's a couple of big ones. For the most part, they're okay. They go out, they do survival training, they do disaster preparedness as part of the community. Most of them work with you know, I don't know what you want to call that, but with first responders in the areas that they're in the county, whatever. They have that symbiotic, I guess you could say, relationship in that way. So they're not outliers, loners, mountain men, just crazy nut job.
Right.
So that, it's a pretty interesting dynamic. But yeah, I mean, I think once the one that's closest, I've been invited to several times. I've never had the opportunity to go, or taken the opportunity to go, I should say. But I think once a month or something, they have a little training get together stuff, and then they have meetings and talk amongst each other, and that all the time, of course, and have social media groups they communicate through and everything else. But yeah, I mean, they're the ones I know, and the guys in those groups, and sadly, it's mostly guys. Very few women, or no women that I know of, anyway. Yeah, I mean, they're pretty stand-up individuals for the most part. So they sort of take it. It's not it's not one of these, we're prepared to fight the government and that's all we focus on. And it's like, if it comes to it, sure, they would be prepared to do that, but they're more of, what can we do today, now, to help the community, to help the state, to help the people of this country, right? In things going on today, not down the road, should the government become some type of totalitarian regime.
Right. No, that's exactly what I was. Yeah, exactly. G, have you had any experience with militias at all, good or bad?
I feel like well-regulated ones are necessary for a free state.
Absolutely. Thank you, Mr. Constitution. But no, I mean, as far as what people are out there calling themselves militias, and we know what we're talking about. There are, like you said, there are good and there are bad. There are people that are preparing for different things, and they're there to be a good Samaritan type thing. But and are there a lot of? I would imagine Arizona's probably got several quote unquote militias out there, don't they?
Probably. We definitely have border watches, right?
Right. And those are, I mean, I guess those are militias because they're more civilians that are volunteering their time to help the greater good. Is that, I mean, that's kind of what most people think a militia is the actual average person volunteering their time to help with different things. So,
yeah, exactly. I don't know. I don't associate with them. They've had good and bad reputations over the years and stuff. And most of them are coming in from different, places than your militia in Iowa, right? They're not probably the same as their people on the border of Mexico.
That's very true. You're very right about that. Yeah, never thought about that.
But I think that we have potentially we have an obligation to ourselves and our family and our community. I don't know. We can get together, I guess, but if your mindset is that you are the militia, then guess what? You are the militia.
Right. There you go. Mike, what about South Carolina? And I know you've been in Georgia and Louisiana through different things, but in South Carolina, are you aware? Have you ever known anyone, or are you part of a militia?
Not part of a militia. Don't know of any militias around here. Never looked it up. Like I said, I'm not into stuff like that. But I'm more like along the same mindset as G-Webs, whereas the militia, according to the Constitution, is about the people coming together to, fight for the cause of the continuing living of a document that expresses the way we live.
Very well said. Very well said. All right. So back, we're going to go get the train back on here. Training. We've discussed all sorts of stuff about training, but now for the last segment, we're going to talk mainly about what to bring and how to prepare. Now, when I go to a training class, I start preparing about 2 weeks out. And what I say by that is I start trying to change some eating habits. I drink a ton of water, and I should say a ton of water and Gatorade. I do a mixture of, for every 2 bottles of water, I'll drink a bottle of Gatorade to replenish the electrolytes. I think too much water can be bad for you, but I'll always do the Gatorade. But I always try to go in very, very hydrated, no matter what time of year it is, because there's a good chance that when you're doing training, if there's a lot of people, the chances of you having chances to go get water breaks aside from the designated times could be slim to none. So you always want to stay hydrated, because if you're not hydrated, your mind's not going to be as sharp. And if your mind's not sharp, then bad things can happen with loaded weapons. So you want to hydrate. You want to make sure that you're eating properly to keep energized, to where you can handle it. I have very bad knees and very bad back. So I will start making sure that I'm on a regulated kind of a maybe preventative pain with ibuprofen or something like that, to where I know that my knees and my back are going to be okay. As far as what to bring, man, I'll always bring at least 2 guns, if not 3 or 4, to every training class that I go to. And I try to bring at least 3, try not to bring 4 or 5 magazines for each one of those guns. Obviously a pen and paper, or spiral notepad, whatever you want to call it. I always will try to bring at least 3 sets of hearing protection, because you never know what's going to happen. Somebody else might forget theirs, or you might break, someone might steal it. I don't know. I've never had anyone steal anything at a training class, but you never know. If they ask for 300 rounds of ammo for the class, I'll bring 6. I'll always double what they ask for, just because I want to make sure I've got enough, but also too much water can rust metal. Yes, it can. Goodness gracious, G. You always want to make sure you have enough, not only for yourself or someone else. So I want to go through the room real quick, and we'll start with G. I know you were talking about bringing a spiral notebook and all that, but what things outside of the normal firearms, holster, ammunition, hearing an eye pro, and all that would you probably put in your bag, or at least keep in your van or your car when you're going to a training class?
So you covered a bunch of it, and water is a big one, because you're not going to be paying attention and getting everything out of it. So, man, you covered a lot of the good stuff. Clothing for the appropriate, so you're not distracted by whatever's going on.
Rain or whatever. Yeah, I didn't think about that. It's supposed to be raining Saturday, by the way. It's going to be cold and rainy, so that'd be great to train in.
Well, here's the thing. You're a gear guy, so bring. You don't have to. And you're driving, right? So you don't have to be like, let's be the most frugal I can possibly be, right? I would suggest bring 3 or 4 raincoats if you got them, because it doesn't cost nothing. And that way, if you're wearing one and you're like, oh, the armpits on this raincoat are driving me nuts, you can go put on a different raincoat or put on a vest, or you know what I mean? Like, have some options.
I just keep them in the truck. Yeah.
Yeah, exactly. But oh man, there's let me go back to ammo then, because
sure.
You've been to enough classes or whatever, so you're not going to be like wide-eyed and looking around. But mainly, since you've been to them before, and you're just really going to need to get a kind of accustomed to their flow or their road, their operation, is, like I say, just bring a lot of ammo and stuff, as many mags as you possibly can. I kind of already mentioned that. You mentioned the extra guns. That's good. A chair, maybe. Jaeger does stuff out in like a dirt, so bringing one of them like fold-over chairs, kind of
good idea.
Handy. You're going to have a truck or a car?
I'm going to my truck.
So you got a tailgate. That's good to go. Shade. I don't know if you're going to need to worry about shade for like an umbrella thingy for rain or shade. I mean, that could be convenient if you want. Food, I guess, is a good one. I like to bring food, even if they say don't bother, or we're going to go somewhere, just in case plans change or something. You can always throw lunch away, right? It's $6. But that way you don't have to think about it. And you covered a lot. I think you're going to be good.
Yeah, Clover. Oh, I'm sorry. Go ahead. Yeah, go ahead.
Just extra cameras.
Yeah. I'm going to bring, I'm going to bring the DSLR. I'm going to bring the Handycam and about 3 cell phones and all that stuff. But yeah, the food thing is a great idea. And, because most people don't realize You know, it could be an 8-9 hour day out there, and you don't realize how much energy you're spending. So every night, even a peanut butter sandwich is something that you can take a bite here or there. You don't have to bring 3 sandwiches, but taking a bite here or there is great to keep your energy level up throughout the day. What's that?
Because of lead, I like stuff like a bar, like something that's in a wrap or a banana, so that you eat it and it's gone. Like
like a granola bar type thing.
And just think about lead and stuff on your hands. Now you're eating a peanut butter sandwich. As you know, you're eating a sponge and then putting all that lead in your mouth. I would eat like a banana where you don't have to touch the food that you're eating and it's gone when you're done eting it, like snacks, nuts. You just shove them in your mouth and be gone.
Yeah.
I was also going to recommend you can throw cameras like your what is that thing called? The little I can't think of the dang word now. The little cameras that are GoPros. Something like
GoPros. Yeah.
Pick it up.
Oh yeah, I'm gonna wear a GoPro if he allows you. I'm gonna wear it on my head. I've got a little thing that attaches.
He's all about. He understands what we're doing. But I'm just saying, you can think about throwing something up on a hill and just letting it record for 20 minutes.
That's a great idea. Yeah.
Retrieve it for your bee footage and stuff.
Yeah, great idea. Yeah. Clover, what about you? Anything that we haven't discussed that you might sit there and say, just in case you might want to bring this?
Well, I mean, like I said, my situation is a little bit different, but across the board, I would say number one and number two, a great attitude and a willingness to learn.
Very, very good. Very, very good. And that's 100%. It sounds corny. It sounds cliche. But if you're not going to training to learn, then what the hell are you going for? And I'm going to ask Mike this because he and I have had this discussion. I'm sure there are people that will go to Jaeger's class because they're fanboys.
Correct.
But if you're not going there to learn, then you're wasting $600. I don't understand that. Now, with you going to a lot of training and all that, and as an instructor as well, what are some of the things that you might suggest that people take that might be outside the box thinking?
Honestly, I would say take like a poncho, your rain jacket, stuff we already talked about, extra pair of sunglasses. Summertime, sun protection. Wintertime, you might want to take an extra long sleeve shirt in the event that it's cold, you sweat, whatever the case may be. Right. If it's like, if you're a cold nature type person, some thermals might work out for you. Wear boots instead of tennis shoes because of that time of the year. Gloves in the event that it is cold out there. You can keep your hands warm versus as, just jumping around and putting your hands in your pocket or whatever. It's just easier to take gloves off and on. That's pretty much it. And like I said, I'm a big fan of water, so I believe in carrying a jug of water, like a gallon jug of water around with me. Mm-hmm. So, yeah, just make sure you hydrate and stay focused.
You ever use those hand warmer things where you just open them and like when they're exposed to air, they look like a big tea bag?
Oh yeah. I'm gonna put those in my pockets for sure.
Yeah.
If it's cold.
Yeah, I've done that before. Yeah, put it in my pocket and ride a motorcycle with it.
I cannot stand shooting with gloves on, and I don't understand. I'm not going to say this. I do understand why people like these tack gloves and all that. It's what it is. I personally can't stand it, so I will probably take a pair of gloves, not the tactical gloves, but just the regular gloves when I'm not shooting to keep my hands warm. And I'll also probably have those hand warmers in my pockets. But here's something I always take to classes just because I don't know the terrain sometimes or where we're going to be, especially if it's going to be outside. I'll always take a pair of knee pads. And it sounds crazy. People are going to laugh, but I'll always take them because the last thing you want to do is I have bad knees. I've had multiple knee surgeries on my knees, so it's one of those things. I have bad knees to begin with. But if you're in a terrain that might be rocky or something that might be uncomfortable to your knees, well, chances are naturally you're going to put your body in a position that's comfortable. And what is comfortable may not be always safe or proper. So it sounds crazy. You might laugh, but always take some. Go ahead. What's that?
No, you're right. It's on the list.
I'm just talking about in general. If you're ever going to training, if you've got knee pads, bring them because you never know. And if you don't need them, somebody else may need something. They may, it is what it is. But
okay, so here's the thing, kind of contradict yourself. So knee pads, you're not going to be wearing knee pads when thing goes down, right? But in real life, if you know something's about to go down, you hear something in the distance, you're going to put your knee pad, right? Because why? Because now you can drive into it. Now you can go to your knees and it's no big deal, right? That's why you wear protective equipment. And that's kind of why people wear gloves, dude. That's why you wear those mechanics gloves and whatnot. Because they're the same as like a pit crew or something in a car. You're going to go in there and touch a muffler. Now your fingers hurting and bugging you. Well, if you touch a barrel or something, it's annoying. If you get jabbed on a sharp piece of, usually on AKs, we got a lot of sharp edges on AKs and stuff, charging them and things, magazines, pinch you or whatever. So it's just to avoid that kind of garbage. It's when you're talking handguns, though, it's a good idea to take a class once in a while with gloves on. Same things like armor, so that you experience it and you just you go through all your stuff with that extra impediment or whatever. But you don't have to do it this time around.
Yeah. Warsaw's, what about boots? I wear boots pretty much. This might hurt a little bit. I wear boots every day.
I haven't seen him do that since karaoke.
Woohoo! Yeah. No, but I wear boots, especially in the wintertime and all that. I wear boots every day. So I always take 3 pairs of boots. I take a pair for every day of class, no matter how long it is, especially if it might be raining. Because if you only take 1 pair of boots and it's rain and they're soaking wet, if they're not good boots, then you might have a problem. But yeah, these are Danners. These things are phenomenal. These are like more like winter boots. I got 2 pair of True Spec boots that I'll be taking. So I'm taking 3 pairs of boots just in case, not just because of weather, but if you have a blowout and you only have 1 pair of boots, you're screwed. So do you have to use boots? No, I would say go and train with what you normally wear. And that sounds crazy, but if you never wear boots or you never wear tactical pants or cargo pants, then don't try to go looking tactical at a class. Go with what you normally dress like. Because if you're a jeans and tennis shoes guy, then go train with jeans and tennis shoes, because if you're training with something that you don't typically wear every day, then that's defeating the purpose. Don't try to look like an operator if you're not that guy. If you wear tactical pants and boots like I do most days, then that's what I'm going to wear. But I'm not going to go with all sorts of crazy tack stuff. It's going to be what I normally wear, because the training that I'm trying to get better at, I'm trying to incorporate in my everyday life, and that includes what I wear. So wear whatever you would normally wear every day. That'd be my suggestion.
There's been a lot of talk. I mean, it's been brought up a couple times here on the panel. Balls out there in the chat about the notebook or the notepad or whatever. I really like a voice recorder. Now, I mean, I've got a notepad too. Don't get me wrong, I've got that, but I really like a voice recorder because it slides in the pocket. You can pull it out real quick, say what you need to say, cut it off, and then you can transcribe that or do whatever you got to do.
Most phones have a voice recorder app on each phone, so I'll be using the hell out of that for sure.
Yeah, but with that, you got to pull with a phone. You got to pull it out. You got to unlock your phone. You got to do the app. Whereas with the voice recorder, it's literally you just pull it out, hit a button, it's done, put it back.
You're saying like a dictaphone?
Yeah, like a digital recorder.
Digital recorder. Yeah,
digital version of what you're talking about.
Yeah, and they're very cheap and reasonable now.
Oh yeah,
The cool thing I picked up from a guy doing the axe matches when he used to cover them. He would record audio of the stage description. You could do the same thing as they're like talking about what you're going to be doing in the drill or whatever for your video production. You get the audio of them saying whatever they're saying, and then you can use your B-roll of you filming the other line. You're going to go shoot or whatever, and then when the other line shoots, you get some B-roll running down the thing, and then you've got that good audio with that to cut into.
That's a great idea. Yeah. Mike, when you go to training, do you typically like to use audio recorders and at least try to take some of the audio?
No, unless I catch it on video. That's the only time I pretty much use the audio. Okay. But I'm the pen and paper type of guy also.
Yeah. Now, Pete out there is that's so true. Batteries. Yes. If you use electronic ear protection, bring plenty of batteries. Is a lot. Well, I guess electronic ear pro may not be the biggest thing if you run out of batteries, because it's still going to be ear pro. You may not be able to hear some of the commands as well as you can with the electronics turned on, but absolutely bring batteries for pretty much everything. I mean, you could never have too many batteries. So yeah.
And I've already mentioned dump your ammo out. Going through boxes, picking it out bit by bit out of a box takes forever. You dump it, and you can just grab a handful and be loading and look around. And if you stuff mags, it's way faster when you just dump it. Unless you're counting it or something, or if you're gonna dump 500 rounds in there, count it when you're done. You know how many you shot.
Right. And this is just something that on an everyday basis, when I get my ammo, they'll come in a box of 50. I use little baggies, and I'll take that ammo box and I'll pour them into a baggie, and I'll just kind of, cinch that baggie up because I know there's 50 in each bag, and it's a lot easier to store and it's more room to store. But I think for this one, they're saying to bring 1,000 rounds. So I've got 1,000 rounds I'm bringing. I don't suspect we'll use all 1,000 of them, but I'm going to bring 1,000 rounds. But I think I will. I'll just kind of just dump them into a big ammo box, so it's just this loose. So it is, like you said, it's a lot quicker to do that. So yeah, that's a good point. Someone's out there saying be as comfortable as possible. I'm not going to say be as comfortable as possible. I'm not going to say that. I disagree with that to a certain extent, and I'll let the guys on the panel discuss this as well. Like I said, you don't want to go be uncomfortable, and you don't want to be too comfortable. You want to go how you normally are every day. Like I said, if you're a jeans and tennis shoes and t-shirt guy or sweatshirt guy, then that's what you go train in. If you are a tack pants and boots guy, go train in that. It sounds crazy and it might not be comfortable, but if you're a jeans and cowboy boots guy, go train in jeans and cowboy boots, because the last thing you want to do is go train a certain way. And then when you get in the real world situation, it's different because you're wearing different boots or whatever. I mean, go train the way you normally dress. That's what I would say. I don't know. What do you guys think about that?
I totally agree with you. Because I'm like you, I pretty much wear proper pants every day, various t-shirts or a button-down shirt. But my footwear actually changes. So some days I wear boots, some days I wear sneakers. It's just a matter of how I feel. But even when I go train, I train the same way. So just because I go to the range, I go to the range only with boots on. That's not a true statement. So when I go to the range, it's according how I dress every day, but majority of the time I do wear proper pants, but how I feel, tennis shoes or boots. It's just a matter of how the wind blows that day.
Right.
As long as you have proper with a small p, not a capital. Magic Mike is telling it out there.
Mike might differ in this statement, but go ahead and say it.
I would not be the
range attire.
I pretty much only wear like work clothes and boots. Like I don't want to get up to toe or step on something sharp and be like regretting that I wore a pair of shoes. So I figure if I'm going to train, especially if I'm paying money for it and I'm only going somewhere for it, then I want to get as much out of it. And as far as like trying it in more different situations, I'll do that at home in practice. But I like to wear boots just so it's one less variable, I guess.
Well, this is talking about how to prepare also. If you know you're going to a training class in a month from now and you want to get a pair of boots for your classes, get them at least a month ahead of time. I'd say probably 6 weeks ahead of time, and try to wear them every day. Not maybe all day, but at least every day for at least a month. Because if you go to training class with new boots, they're going to be uncomfortable and you're going to end up with blisters and your feet are going to hurt. If you're going to wear boots that you're not used to, break them in at least a month ahead of time so that they're ready to go. I can say that much. I wear boots all the time, but I have gone to training classes, unfortunately, with a new pair of boots. They just happened to get a new pair of boots, and I had them for like a week or two, and they weren't broken in, and that was not good. My feet killed me. I got blisters and all that.
Now, there's a lot of stuff in the chat, and something that hadn't been mentioned on the panel yet is medical med kit tourniquet.
I was getting ready to bring that up. Ashley's talking.
And as far as me, if people, if they're coming, I have all that.
Mm-hmm.
So, and
that
I think
stays in my truck.
I think most trainers or training facilities is what I'm getting at. I think I don't know of any that don't have all of that, because they teach all of that and everything else a lot of times. So they're going to have that. Now, that being said, I do think it's probably a good idea for that to be, I use if I'm somewhere that I don't need my entire big, huge range bag, if I'm not doing the training, if I'm not doing the teaching or the coaching, then I've got a personal range bag. So it's a little smaller version. So that's something that I could easily take into another training that I'm partaking in or whatever. And yes, I would have some type of small mid kit and for sure a tourniquet in that. That's just a good idea.
Yeah, I'm not laughing at you. Calaveras out there says, "Work is dress slacks, a collared shirt, and wingtips." Training it, bro, but be prepared to get people to laugh at you if you show up to training class in wingtips. But there's a lot to be said about that. If that's what you wear every day, maybe yeah. If that's what you wear every day, and you want to show up so you're training in what you're wearing every day, freaking do it, man. Own it and just do it. If someone laughs at you, outshoot them. Work hard, go there with the right attitude, willing to learn, like Clover said. I can't remember who. Someone asked me up there, do I prefer AR or AK for a rifle? I've got 3 ARs and I've got an AK and an AK pistol. Love them both. Honestly, if I had to choose a platform, one over the other, honest to God, I'd probably pick the AK platform. I think it's just more simple. There is less moving parts, less chances of maybe jamming or break malfunctioning. Other than that, honestly, I love the 7.62 round by 39 round. I think AKs. Now there's the 7.62 by 54R. I know G's a big fan of that. But I like the AK platform, but I don't think you can go wrong with either one. I mean, I love both of them. I'm not going to turn either one of them down, but if I had to choose one, I'd probably honestly go the AK platform. So let's kind of run that through the room. G, AK or AR, and what's your maybe favorite caliber in those?
AR 223, I guess.
AR 223. There you go. Mike, what about you? AR or AK?
AR.
Caliber?
5.56.
5.56. Okay. Clove?
Give you one guess.
I'm going to say AR and 300 blackout.
There you go.
There you go. Man, I know you. All right, guys, we're going to start kind of closing the doors and all that. We're going to run through the room. Mike, you've got 7 seconds to plug your stuff and go. No, take your time and do what you got to do, bro.
All right, so I'm just going to read off my little script that I always do. So please go to the m-wtactical.com. The one-stop shop where you can check out everything I'm a part of from Facebook and Instagram, which you can find me under m-w tactical. Even a link where you can catch up on the Black Man with the Gun podcast with Kim Blanchard, the M-W Tactical channel, where we do product reviews that we put out every Tuesday. So if you haven't done so, check out the video we put out this morning. And you can even click on the link and donate to the GoFundMe.com/M-W Tactical campaign that's still going on, and even a link to become a Patreon. That is all.
Holy cow, you done?
That was it.
Man, you're getting good at that. That was nice.
Hey,
smooth.
I'm trying.
Man. I remember 3 or 4 months ago, it took you a minute and a half to get through that. I'm just messing with you. G, what you got going on? I know Every Second Matters is coming up on Sunday. You want to promote that and try to get more people involved, or whatever you want to promote? What you got going on?
Oh, no, I can't make people give a shit about the second. That's up to them. But Every Second, we've done it for 5 years. Everybody's welcome to participate in whatever way they want. But yeah, it's up to everybody. Yeah, I'm glad to see you're doing the training. Glad you're doing the stuff leading up to it. I'm curious to see what it's going to be like after you've experienced it, and looking forward to what you and Mike do in 2019 with the drill of the month and all the other projects you're working on.
Yeah, we're going to bring that up here in a second. So yeah, I'm looking forward to it. 2019 is going to be a really cool, fun year. I'm looking to take a big step in a lot of different ways. Clover, what you got going on?
First, I want to thank everybody that bought swag in the swag store yesterday, and congrats to Georgia Trucker, who won the giveaway there. So I appreciate everybody big time on that. As far as what's going on, we've got the YouTube Sucks No YouTube Monday chat that happens on GunTube, GunChannels, and Instagram. So yeah, check that out. It's basically the same as the Monday used to be. Pretty much the format hadn't changed much. I kind of changed the name, at least temporarily, on that. And been booking guests this week for the Friday podcast. Firearm Friday will be back in a produced format. Haven't hammered down all the details on that yet. Hopefully, that will release this Friday, so we'll get back in action. I've been talked to Michael Sedini, of course, Eagle Imports, which is Versa and Llama and all of that good stuff. I've talked with Renegade Ammunition. I've talked with Honor Guard, Mr. Gary with Honor Guard coming back on. They've got some ammunition out now, so we're going to talk about that. True Spec on deck, Fort Scott Munitions, Safety Harbor Firearms, Mr. Walter, if you watch over there with Hank at all. And several others are pretty much on deck at this point. So that'll be rolling out every Friday, hopefully starting this Friday.
Awesome. Yeah, looking forward to that. And I can personally tell you that I'm just having an absolute blast with my podcast. It's a lot less stressful when you can kind of do it whenever you and the guest have time instead of doing it live. And because when you're doing something live, you kind of tend to forget questions. And, a 30-minute podcast might take you an hour and a half conversation, but that's cool. It doesn't have to be an hour and a half show. It can, whittle all that stuff down or make it into 3 different podcasts. So I'm looking forward to the Firearm Friday podcast. And I think podcasts, I'm kind of getting into that. So I like it. I'm actually listening to more podcasts myself now. So I'm looking forward to that. G brought up the drill of the month. We still got a few days till Friday night for this month's drill of the month. It's here on the channel. It's called the John Wick drill. Please go ahead and do that. Take a video of you doing it and send it to me in email or link it in the comments of that video. And we're going to have, we'll have a winner. And the winner isn't always necessarily who shoots the best. It's be creative with it and do some different things. Be more proficient in all that. I will say that Monday we will be releasing the December drill of the month. It's called Casino Royale. Casino Royale. And we are starting something different. In 2019, we're taking it to a whole nother level, but we're starting it in December. And it's a collaboration now between myself and Mike with NW Tactical, where each month we're going to be giving the drill of the month, and then Mike will be doing a 1 to 2 minute kind of instructions part of that video, where he's going to take the drill that we're shooting and talk about fundamentals and why it's important for your everyday handgun needs. So he'll have an instructional part segment in each of the drill of the months. And the reason why we're going to do this is we understand, talk about the training. We understand that there are a lot of people that don't have the time, nor do they have the money to go get training. So we're going to try to step up the game with a drill of the month to where over time, we're going to have a catalog of different drills that work on specific parts of handgun fundamentals, whether it's reloading or quick target acquisition or whatever it is, to that if you don't have time or the money, over time, you'll have a catalog of different drills that you can go get your own instruction and training by using the drill of the month video. So we're very, very excited. We are actually have already had some discussions with a couple different companies, and today me and G and Clover and some others were going to talk about doing other stuff. But I have actually had a company contact me that might want to get involved for giveaways for the winners. But we're always going to be looking to do some different stuff with multiple companies if we can. So I like that idea. But I have had one company that's interested in doing some giveaways for the winners. So we're going to take the drill of the month to the whole new level. So Sunday, I want to say, what do we say, Mike? 12 Central, 12 Eastern that we're going to release it. I can't remember which one it was, but I think it's 12 Eastern, 11 o'clock Central. We will be releasing the December drill of the month called Casino Royale. You have till midnight on Friday night to submit your John Wick drill for including into the November contest, if you want to call it that. But guys, I want to say thank you for everyone that has been watching the channel. A belated happy Thanksgiving to everyone. I'm thankful for everyone that watches and supports the channel and everything that we do. Thank you for everyone supporting everyone on this panel. Go support these guys. Go support everyone that are content creators out there in the chat as well. They're all putting some great content out there. Go check out Hit or Miss. They're still on over there on YouTube. It's Night Strike 1 is the channel. On GunChannels, it's called Hit or Miss, obviously. Go check them out. They always put some interesting work out there. They're always entertaining for damn sure. And other than that, guys, I want to say thank you. I look forward to talking next week about the training over it with Jaeger, which I'll be leaving Friday for and spending the weekend over there in Camden. So I'm looking forward to that. But, you know, we're starting to do a lot more training. In 2019, my mission is to train as much as I can and talk about being a personal defender in this country and getting all the training that you can get. It's not the only thing I'm going to talk about, but that is going to be an emphasis on the channel. Is talking about more about training, practicing, going to the range more, and all of that stuff. So get out there and train often, train safely, train properly, and we will see you next week. Semper Fi.